Welcome into the Gator Report, your exclusive inside look at Land O'Lakes High School football. Every week, we will dive deep into the heart of Gator Nation, bringing you post-game insights, analysis, and straight talk from none other than our head coach, Dan Goodspeed. All right, folks, welcome into the Gator Report. Here with Dan Goodspeed. After the game against Williston last night, wasn't the result that we were looking for.
Right.
But pretty hard-fought game, 21-13.
Yep,
so
21-13.
Just your initial overall thoughts.
Well, I think the one thing that sticks out most is how our guys kind of rallied with each other and kept fighting all the way through 4 quarters. That was really good to see. The defense, never had any quit in them, even when we turned the ball over by the scoreboard end zone. They held them, and then they went for a field goal, and we blocked the kick. So, good for them. The offense, the same thing. There was no quit in them. They kept fighting. It just wasn't happening for us last night. Like I said, I think with that offense that Williston runs, and how sharp they are with it, I thought the defense did a really good job. Volstead, Connor Purcell, Donnie. Phenomenal jobs, the guys up front and everything like that. And you can really see it, Volstead, he was all over the place. Same with Connor. I usually don't get to sleep after games, win or lose, just because that's how it was since I've been playing.
Yep.
And so I always sit down in my office and watch the games. And so, I watch both sides of the ball. And, it was kind of fun to watch those linebackers produce.
I thought Dean Malarkey had I called his name several times last night as well.
Yeah, no, Dean. I think it's really nice to see with the different shifting we've had to do on the defensive line and throughout the defense. Those guys really gelling and play together. Anthony and I have talked about that and said, he's really happy where they're at, and it was initially a surprise because we were all thin there. Right. But they're all playing together. They're playing for each other.
Yeah.
And it's really good. And kind of our idea of offense against defense and kind of build them together so we can work each other in practice. It's paying off for the defensive side of the ball and for the offense. I think we're getting better, not as quick as I want us to, but we're coming together.
Well.
Go ahead.
If you think about the game last year, this was a much tighter game. We talked about it previously, coming into this game, like just a measuring stick of kind of where the progress has been. Obviously Williston is not exactly the same team, but that coach has been there a long time. You mentioned the running game; they run that to perfection, right?
Absolutely.
Walker Zero. they had a couple of them, and they do a really good job of hiding where the ball is going. Mm-hmm. So I think it's I say that because the point differential this year was a lot better than last year.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And you could say, it's a great measuring stick. Yes, we are better than we were at this point last year. Look at the score. Look how it came up. We were in it all the way. We still had a chance at the end. But on the other hand, I think we're a better team than we showed. I don't know if all the credit to Williston. Don't get me wrong. They played a great game and they earned their victory. But I think it's more of us, hurting ourselves.
Yeah, some turnovers.
And I think we did that against River Ridge, and I think it reared its head against Williston. I think we had -3 turnovers on offense. We muffed the punt on special teams, and then we created a takeaway on defense. So that puts us plus or -3 on giveaways. So it's tough to win football games when you're -3. It's tough to win football games when you're -1.
Yeah.
You want to get in the positive, and I think that's the one driving stat across NFL, college, everything, that if you win that turnover battle, you're usually in the win column. So, that's frustrating because I think offensively we've done a great job taking care of the football since Lake Mineola, River Ridge, and Cypress. Thank you. But, we just didn't take care of the football last
year.
night.
I don't know what the stats are, but I don't think there were any turnovers. Well, I know there weren't any in Cypress, but...
No. Oh, we created 3 turnovers at Cypress.
I'm talking about us
giveaways.
Giveaways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think we'd have had any giveaways. We've been really, the offense, carrying the ball high and tight, receivers tucking it away, quarterback taking care of the football, making sure his throws are clear. I think we've done a great job with it. Unfortunately, on Friday was not like that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, the offense, a little different than what we saw, at least from my perspective of what we saw previously so far this year in the first couple games. A lot more shots downfield than what we typically see.
It is a balance because, their offensive line obviously was, a massive one, and it was harder to punch the holes into it that we did against, say, Cypress. Some of those shots downfield unintended. It was just where the read took the quarterback on the, third or last progression of it. We were trying to take the top off the defense a lot and then come underneath. But when he dropped back, he saw a chance to take a shot, so he did.
Yep.
To a point, sometimes, they're drawn up like that, but also, it's the end of the progression and we see something he wants to take and go. So,
yeah.
Something we need to get better at. Imagine that, just the sticks and making sure that we're staying ahead of the chains, and making sure that we're better driven towards first downs, methodically moving down the field.
Right. And he was able to scramble a couple of times late in the game for
first
downs.
No question. Chance does a great job in the pocket, moving around.
Yep.
Creating some more time and then keeping his eyes down the field
yep.
and making something happen.
It was just the D-line size was really what you would attribute the challenges with the run game last night?
Well, just how they move and pack it in there. I wasn't sure we were getting a ton of push at first, but I went back on the film and, we did a pretty decent job actually moving them. So, there were some opportunities there and maybe some run calls that were left on the table. But it's just how they played their defense outside the box that, kind of open up that opportunity when you have a guy like Clemente, and they want to cover a man-to-man, it's a win on our side, and so you try to feed him the football.
Right.
And ideally it's more about getting the ball into your hands of your playmakers. I mean, that's what we're talking about all the time.
Right.
And just those kind of matchups, and I thought you did a heck of a job. I mean, he's a beast out there.
Yeah.
Blocking, catching, running, his burst and fast twitch. So.
Yep. Well, let's go switch to the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if you took a look at time of possession, but from where I sat, it just seemed like the defense was out there too much.
Absolutely. And that goes two ways. And we've talked about this all the way since Mineola. Mineola, I think, with time of possession was 2-1 offense to defense. I mean, the offense possessed the ball and moved that methodical down the field and then usually punched it in. And it complements well because then the defense can get out there, they're fresh, and they can do all the things they need to do, go 3 and out, then it starts wearing them down
yeah.
again. Conversely, in this game, I would imagine the time of possession favors Williston greatly. And to the credit of our defense, for how hot it was and everything, they fought their tails off. But when you get into that kind of offense where they're just kind of chipping away, and most of the time you're thinking, in football, defensive coordinators will say, if we have you pinned back, you're going to make a mistake before you get all the way down the field. Well, they're so sharp, in what they do. I think that is a very limited factor because of how they do things. But we were able to stop them, but differently in this game compared to other times, the decisions going into when you run the special teams out for punts and how we're managing that field position, we want to make sure, sometimes you get close to the 50 or over in high school, you're like, well, you could do it because they're going to stall out. Well, we wanted to make sure that they were pinned all the way back so they had a full field to drive on.
Yeah.
And I think it paid off for us in the second half. We punted to them from our 50, did an extra job punting it, getting it down there,
yep.
and they created the turnover, and then we were able to punch it in down there.
Yeah.
So that balance of, how much do you want to gamble to, the field position battle.
Yeah. We already talked about it, but they were predominantly a run team. That wears down a defense too, right?
Yeah.
So
they lull you to sleep with that run, and then take a shot.
Yep. Well, you touched on special teams already a little bit,
but to add to it, I thought our special teams were improved drastically. I think field position was much better. Us, when we had to punt, we sent them back and pinned, and the operation was pretty smooth. We had better returns, better coverage. So, that's on the upswing, so that's good to see.
How'd you come out of it from a health standpoint?
So far, healthy.
Okay,
healthy.
Good. Yeah.
And even if we weren't healthy, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. No, that's good to hear.
Yeah. But all kidding aside, no, I thought the toughness that everybody showed. It's easy to say it's hot, we're getting pushed around a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
I got a hammy, I got a cramp, whatever.
Right.
No, we're starting to define some of our toughness as a football team, and I think it really showed last night, which is good.
Yeah.
Because we're going to keep dealing these battles. Our schedule is not easy.
Yeah.
But this is what we wanted. So.
Yeah. So 1-2.
1-2.
Zephyr Hills coming up. Yep. They're also 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see? I don't. Sometimes I ask you these questions. You might not have scouted out the other team quite yet. But what do you think?
So when soon as Thursday comes around, right, we start moving in. You start looking ahead to, not as looking ahead like what's our next game, but you start getting your ODKs in and all that when you can find film. But Coach Carroll does a great job over there. I've always enjoyed playing Zephyr Hills. It's always been great games from my days at River Ridge. And then, last year we had a really good game. That was a edge of the seat one. We didn't know which way it was going to go until the very end. So I assume this would be the same thing, going to their place. It's one of those hostile environments, and it's a fun place to play as the away team. And I would expect the same thing. They have good receivers, good quarterback, and they flip those guys over to defense. So it'll be tough sledding to throw. So we'll see what we can do on the run game and go from there. But I think it's going to be a fun game for us.
It's the last game before you get to a district game too. So.
We have one more. We got Leesburg after that.
Oh, Leesburg.
Yeah, Leesburg. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gradually cranking up the heat.
Yeah.
With Williston, Z Hills, Leesburg, and then Mitchell, and then we'll be on bye week. So.
Okay.
But funny how fast it's going.
It is going fast.
It's going fast.
That's for sure. Well, it was great to be at home in the swamp and see Gator Nation and all that.
The atmosphere's been great. We had one of the students, give me a quick interview as I was walking off the track, and so that was
Swamp Talk. Yeah.
Swamp Talk. Yeah, that was fun, and I hope they enjoy that. It's always great when we get the students involved in a student activity like this.
Sure.
So the band sounded great. We saw our banner come out.
That was the first time I saw that in live action. So that was cool.
That was good. And scoreboard was working.
That's right.
Always good.
Yeah.
And then your voice was back, so we love that too.
There you go.
You kind of get used to the songs that you play.
Yeah.
Like on kickoffs or when X scores or Clemente scores.
Yeah.
So, a lot of good things, and I think you do a heck of a job. And I've heard comments from other families and people that are there saying the announcer's pretty good. So
cool.
And then the JV went out on Thursday. Cypress.
3-0.
They got win number 3.
Yeah.
So that bunch is doing really good, and they're starting to gel.
Yeah.
Which was crazy because it was lightning all over the place and the rain, and their field was pretty soggy. But I wanted to make sure they could get their game. There's a question are we even going to play this game? But the JV have been working their butts off, and we want to make sure that they're playing football too. So they went out there and went to overtime and got it done. So they're 3-0.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I was following that on the Twitter. So one of the moms out there keeping us up to date on everything. So that was awesome and good to hear from them. So I know it's tough on a loss to point out highlights, but as you watch the film, was there anybody that stood out to you that you want to
So the saying is, it's never as good or as bad as you think it is until you watch the film. And immediately after, you're like, oh, what are we doing? We need to change a bunch of things. But after you watch the film, I think there's a lot of good things. Obviously, X played a phenomenal game. Zach Campbell catching the ball is very good. I think our two guards are playing really good, especially Brendan Thompson. I mean, and I've spoke about him before, and he keeps still playing at that high level. I mean, when he pulls, we're going to have some room to run in there. When he pass protects, he's fit up perfectly, and when he's part of the slide, I mean, he's making the pass protection violent. So love to watch him play. A guy who is, we didn't know what we'd have. We knew we'd have to grow him up very quickly, but Grayson, our center, I mean, a young guy, and you saw the D-line and be easy, for a young guy to be like, I don't know about this one.
Right.
But no, he stuck his face in there and gave us great protection and moved the line of scrimmage. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
Defensively, Volstead, I mean, he's fun to watch. He's like that. That's a linebacker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You look across the board and you're like, that's a linebacker.
Yeah.
Blood running down his arm, tape him up, doesn't say anything, goes right back in.
Yeah.
Connor Purcell's been flying around. Looking across the board at the defensive line, undersized at some point, but holding their own and doing a great job with it.
So I love it when you point out the guys on the line, because that's not from an announcer standpoint, that's not a number that we usually get to call for anything.
Yeah.
So
it's only when it's bad, right? It's only a holding or offsides for offensive linemen, or
and I try not to call them out. I try not to call their number out on those. We'll just say holding and let it slide at that.
The old saying we had when I was playing was, there's only two people that loved you as an offensive lineman: your coach and your mom.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you took a offside, she didn't love you either. So.
Well, no, I appreciate you doing this as always. We'll be out there supporting at Zephyr Hills next week. Where's the JV team?
They're home versus Zephyr Hills.
Okay.
So we're gonna go back to back.
Okay.
So we'll start calling it a home and a home, right?
There you
got
go.
A home there and home there for them. So.
Yep.
That'll be fun, but it'll be nice to kind of get both teams working on the same thing and go from there.
Well, thanks again. Appreciate it. And like we said last week, if you guys have any questions for the coach and you want to throw them in the comments, we'll present them here on the Gator Report. And appreciate you.
Don't forget our sponsor.
Oh, yes, Intech. Thanks so much to Intech and all your generous support. Appreciate it.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you doing this for us. Yep. And when I left, the MAC attack was happening in Notre Dame. So Northern Illinois was up. So we'll see.
All right.
So enjoy college football day.
Yeah, and I'll be heading down to Raymond James tomorrow, 4:30.
Go Bucs.
Yeah, go Bucs.